Friday didn't start on Friday. It started at 2 in the morning, with my hands hovering over a wedding cake I had just finished after 2 full weeks of work. Hand-piped lace around the bottom tier. Sugar flowers I made 1 petal at a time, every detail touched by me. No shortcuts. No store-bought anything. I kept telling myself that like it was a defense. Honestly, I don't know who I was trying to convince. The kitchen smelled faintly like buttercream and warm sugar. Just one smell, that's all. The rest was quiet. The kind that presses on your ears. I knew, even then, the cake might not have a place. I'd been thinking that for days, maybe even longer, but I kept fixing tiny details anyway. Straightening a lace line no one would look at, adjusting a flower that would never be photographed. That's the stupid part, or one of them. I kept thinking, if I make it flawless, maybe they'll only judge the cake and not me. That thought kept me moving. Even if I knew it was fragile logic, that logic didn't hold. I swear I knew it didn't. I went along anyway. My name is Marjorie Callahan, 64. Most people call me Jory. I don't correct them when they don't. I stood there, fingers cramped, looking at something that had taken 2 weeks of my life and wondering if I was about to carry it into a room where no one wanted it. Not the cake. Me. That part was starting to feel obvious. Friday was rehearsal day. I'd planned to bring the cake early, quietly, drop it off like a gift. Not the main attraction, not a statement, just something from a mother who still makes things with her hands. That was the plan I kept repeating. Like plans can protect you. What I didn't plan for was the sentence, the one that came later. The one that knocked the air out of me so fast I didn't even argue back. I didn't know the exact words yet, but my body knew something was coming. You ever get that feeling like your chest tightens before anything actually happens? I wrapped the tears, stepped back, and told myself to sleep for an hour. I didn't. I just stood there, listening to the refrigerator hum, thinking about how much love can weigh when it has nowhere to land. That was how Friday began. People assume baking was a hobby for me. It wasn't. It was how I survived. When my daughter was little, the bakery was where I learned how to keep the lights on without panicking. I worked mornings, then nights, then whatever hours were left. When the babysitter quit, I brought her with me. She'd sit on a milk crate in the back and swing her legs while I mixed dough. Don't touch anything. I'd tell her I won't. She'd answer, already reaching. We both learned fast. When her father left, no speech, no explanation, just gone. I didn't cry much. I baked. Bread, mostly. Big batches. Something about kneading kept my hands from shaking. She'd ask why we had so many loaves, for neighbors. I'd tell her, we don't have that many neighbors, then we'll find some. That was the pattern. Scraped knee cookies, bad grade banana bread, college acceptance, a cake with 3 uneven layers because I was too tired to level them properly. She never complained. She ate everything. Later, when she started dressing nicer than I ever had, she'd tease me. Mom, you smell like sugar again. That's because I was working. I know, she'd say softer. I just mean, people notice. People always noticed. I noticed it too. The way waiters talked to her first, the way she learned new words for things we used to call simple. I wasn't offended. I understood what climbing looked like. I'd been climbing my whole life, just on a different ladder. I never pretended I belonged in her world. I just hoped I could exist quietly at its edges, close enough to contribute, far enough not to intrude, that loving her with my hands still counted for something. That's why the cake felt natural, not dramatic, not symbolic, just familiar. You keep doing the thing that worked before, even when the room has changed, even when you're not sure it still wants you there. I told myself that was enough. I told myself I wasn't asking for anything back. I told myself a lot of things that week. Some of them were true. She called on a Thursday, late afternoon. I had flour on my hands and the phone tucked against my shoulder. "Mom," she started, voice bright in that careful way. Trevor proposed. I leaned on the counter. "That's wonderful. It came out steady. I meant it." She moved fast, like she'd rehearsed. "We're planning Monterey. There's a resort right on the cliffs. Private. Very contained. Contained." That word stuck. How many people, I asked. "Just close family and friends." She replied, then adjusted. "Around 100. I smiled anyway. Her idea of small had always stretched. She kept going. The view. The planners. Trevor's parents knowing the place. How everything needed to feel intentional. Clean. No extra noise. I waited for a pause. Slipped in carefully. "If you want help, I can coordinate something small. Favors." Scheduling. A pause. "Not long, measured." "That's sweet." She answered. "We've already got most of it covered." Covered meant decided. I hesitated. Then tried again. Lighter. "I could make the cake." Silence this time. Real silence. "We hired a studio in San Francisco." She came back with polite, firm. "They come highly recommended. Trevor's family feels strongly." "I understand." I told her, and I did. Mostly. We talked a few more minutes. Dates, travel, logistics, nothing sharp, nothing wrong on paper. When we hung up, I stood there longer than necessary, phone still warm in my hand, realizing I'd just learned how carefully I needed to offer love now. She called back 2 days later. I knew it was coming because my phone sat there untouched all morning. Like it was waiting too. "We've got the cake handled." She opened. Voice careful again. "Trevor's parents booked a studio in San Francisco. They specialize in this kind of thing." "This kind?" I asked, keeping it light. "High-end weddings." She clarified. "They do very clean work." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. That makes sense. I didn't hang up. That part matters. I wasn't thinking about the main cake. I added, "I get that. I was wondering if I could do something smaller. Just for you. A personal cake. Not for the reception." She exhaled. I heard it through the phone. "I don't know," she answered. "The planners are pretty strict. It wouldn't go in the ballroom," I told her. "I'd keep it out of the way. You could take it home or have it later." Another pause. Longer this time. "Let me check," she replied. "I'll see what's possible." Possible was not yes, but it wasn't no either. I told her not to rush her decision. I didn't want to complicate anything by pressing. "I appreciate that." She answered quickly. Too quickly. We talked about other things after that. Travel. Weather. Her dress fitting. Normal details meant to smooth things over. Then the days passed. No follow-up, no clarification. My texts stayed unread longer than usual. I told myself she was busy. Planning a wedding does that. I told myself silence meant neutral, not rejection. That's the logic I used when I started buying ingredients, when I cleared my schedule, when I decided to go ahead. No one had formally rejected the offer. So I kept the cake ready, hand on the handle. Just in case. I waited a few more days. That's what I tell myself, at least. Like patience was the reason. Not fear. By the time I started, I'd already decided what the cake was and what it wasn't. It wasn't for the ballroom. It wasn't for the photos. It wasn't for Trevor's parents or their friends. It was a gift. Something she could take home. Or not. I planned for both. I mentioned it once more on the phone, kept my voice flat. "I'm thinking of making something small. Just for you." She didn't answer right away. "We'll see how things land," she replied. "The schedule's tight." That was it. No green light, no stop sign, just fog. So I cleared my calendar, told the community center I'd be out for 2 weeks. Bought ingredients in careful batches, like I was afraid of committing too fast. Almond flour first, then butter, then sugar, bags heavier than they needed to be. The first test cake collapsed in the middle. I scraped it into the trash and didn't swear. The second was dry. The third tasted right but felt wrong in my hands. I adjusted. Less heat. More patience. I talked to myself while I worked. Quiet things. Instructions. Warnings. I practiced the lace piping every night. My wrists ached. Lines broke. I started over. Sugar flowers came last. Roses. Sweet peas. I shaped each one slowly, like speed might make them less real. Halfway through, my friend Ellen stopped by. She watched me carefully. "You sure about making this?" "I'm sure I want to do it," I said. "That's not what I asked," she replied. "I know." I wrapped each tier separately, labeled everything, packed it so it could survive the drive. I even planned where I'd put it if there was no place for it. Back in my car, back home. That was the agreement I made with myself. Do the work, offer it once, carry it away if needed. No scene. No explanations. I didn't expect gratitude, but I didn't expect approval. I just couldn't live with not making it at all. That part felt worse. I arrived early, earlier than anyone needed me to be. That felt safer. At the front desk, a young woman glanced at the clipboard, then at me. "Delivery." "Yes," I answered. That part was true. She waved me through without another look. No questions. No hesitation. Like I belonged in that role. I followed her down a hallway that smelled faintly like polish and lemons. Just that. The ballroom doors were open. A 5-tier cake gleamed at the center, all ready from the San Francisco studio. "That's the wedding cake," the woman mentioned. I nodded, holding my smaller cake in the car, ready to drop it off discreetly. I nodded. I kept my hands still. A man adjusting the table glanced up. "You're with the pastry team, no?" I told him. He blinked, then smiled anyway. "Well, you do beautiful work." I didn't correct him. I just stood there, holding my purse too tight, looking at something that had already taken the space I'd imagined for weeks. I thought about my cake, packed carefully in my car, wrapped like it mattered. The woman checked her watch. "The chef will finish later. You can coordinate with the planner if you need placement." Placement. That word floated there between us. "I'm just dropping something off," I replied. "It's not for the reception." She nodded, already distracted, already moving on. I stepped back. There was nothing left to compare, no argument to make. The room had chosen. I turned toward the exit, knowing the real conversation hadn't even started yet. She asked me to come up to her room, not urgent, not casual. That careful middle tone she's perfected. I walked in and stopped short. Dress bag hanging from the closet. Shoes lined up like they were in formation. She looked younger like that, hair pulled back. "No makeup yet. You got here early." She noted. I wanted to drop something off. I answered, "Then stay out of the way." She nodded. Already pacing. "Today's just a lot." "I know." I told her I'm not trying to add to it. That got her attention. She turned. "Then why did you bring a cake?" I kept my voice steady. "It's a gift. Not for the reception. You can take it home. Or leave it." I planned for both. She crossed her arms. "Mom, everything here is very coordinated." I noticed. "This isn't about taste." She went on. "It's about optics." "Whose?" I asked. She hesitated. "Everyone's." We stood there. The air felt tight. Not loud. Just tight. "Trevor's family is different," she continued. They're used to a certain standard. I worked that out, I replied. About 10 minutes ago. That's not fair. I'm not being dramatic. She rubbed her forehead. They ask questions. About background, about where people come from. It matters to them. And to you, I added. She didn't deny it. That was new. I've worked hard to be taken seriously, she explained. To belong in rooms like this. I raised you to belong anywhere. I told her. Not to disappear parts of yourself. Her jaw tightened. This isn't about disappearing. It's about moving forward. And where does that leave me? She stopped pacing, looked at the floor, then back at me. I need everything this weekend to reflect the life Trevor and I are building. I waited. I didn't interrupt. I knew better by then. She exhaled, sharp. You don't fit my vision. The words landed wrong. Even she knew it. I saw it on her face before I felt it in my chest. She tried to recover. I didn't mean it's okay. I cut in. My voice surprised me. Calm. Almost polite. Silence stretched. Long enough to hear her breathing change. I didn't plan to hurt you, she added. Softer. I know. I replied, That's worse. She looked at me like she wanted permission. For what? I couldn't tell. I should take the cake. I continued. That makes the most sense. She nodded. Relief flashed. Quick and ugly. Thank you for understanding. I smiled because that's what I've always done when understanding costs me something. I turned for the door. My hands felt steady. My chest didn't. Somewhere between the hallway and the elevator, it settled in. This wasn't about a cake. It never had been. She walked me part way down the hall. Not all the way. Just enough to look considerate. I don't think you should stay tonight, she told me. Her voice dropped. Like this was for my benefit. It's going to be hectic. A lot of people you don't know. I can manage small talk, I replied. That's not what I mean. She shifted her weight. It's expensive here. The dinners, the drinks. I don't want you feeling awkward. Awkward. That word again. The polite knife. I already booked the room, I reminded her. I planned to be here. She pressed her lips together. I didn't realize that. But honestly, you'd be happier at home. Tomorrow will be long. Standing around. Loud. Not really your scene. My scene. I repeated. She softened her tone. Like that fixed it. I'm trying to protect you. I nodded slowly. I let her have that version. So you'll take the cake with you, she asked. Just for now. We can figure something else out later. Later never means later. It means never. Wrapped in manners. I'll get it from the car. I answered. It's packed. Relief crossed her face. Quick. Unfiltered. Thank you. She murmured. I appreciate you being flexible. Flexible. Another word that only moves one direction. We hugged. Short. Careful. Her arms didn't linger. Mine almost did. I stopped them. Downstairs. The valet brought my car around. I opened the back and checked the straps like I'd practiced. Everything still intact. Still mine. When I pulled away, I didn't look back at the building. I focused on the road and the weight behind me. The cake didn't shift. Neither did the decision I'd just made. I drove until the tight feeling in my chest loosened enough to breathe. Then I turned toward the Maritime Center near Fisherman's Wharf. They were setting up for a fundraiser, folding tables, paper signs, someone arguing about coffee. I carried the cake inside. No announcement. Just placed it down. A woman in a windbreaker stopped mid-step. Is this for us? It can be. I answered. People gathered without asking permission. Quiet first, then not so quiet. Did you make this? A man asked. With my hands, I replied. An older woman moved closer. Gray hair pulled back. Calm eyes. She didn't gush. She leaned in and looked at the edges. That lace, she noted. Careful. You piped it freehand. Yes. And the flowers, gum paste, sugar, I told her. Slow work. She nodded once, like she'd been waiting for that answer. It shows. Someone cut the first slice, then another. Plates moved fast. Compliments came sideways, not loud, about texture, balance, the way the sweetness didn't fight the cake. The older woman took a bite and closed her eyes for a second. This wasn't rushed. She said, "Who taught you life?" I replied, and repetition. She smiled at that. Not polite, real. I stayed a few minutes, watching guests sample slices. The cake was finally being appreciated. No longer just mine to carry, no speeches, no applause. When I left, the box was lighter, my hands felt steadier. The work had landed somewhere. That mattered more than I expected. She showed up 3 days later. No warning, no makeup. Hair pulled back like she'd forgotten how to care what people saw. I messed up. She opened. No softness this time, just tired. I poured tea, sat down, let her keep standing. The woman from the Maritime Center, she continued. Voice uneven. She's Trevor's great aunt. She's the one everyone listens to. I nodded. I already knew where this was going. She asked about the cake, about you, about why you weren't there. Her hands shook. She didn't raise her voice. That was worse. She told me success means nothing if you start cutting away the people who built you. I waited. They talked about it. At the reception, in front of everyone. She swallowed. I've never felt smaller. She looked at me then. I'm sorry, Mom. I was ashamed of the wrong things. I'm not ready to forgive what happened with the cake. I told her. Calm. Honest. But I'm willing to keep talking about it. She nodded fast. That's fair. We sat like that for a while. Not fixed. Just quieter. Here's the thing I learned. Love isn't proven by how much you sacrifice. It's proven by whether someone respects the cost. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop offering yourself where you're being minimized. We're rebuilding, slowly, with boundaries, with work. If this story hit close to home, tap like, leave a comment, or subscribe. These stories exist because people live them. I watched her finish her tea. I didn't rush her out. I didn't pull her close either. That space mattered.